If you want to make sure your agency or consulting firm is built in a sustainable, profitable, and predictable way that will last, then you need to focus on having a few things in place. Thing number one is to have multiple income streams. I'm not going to go in super depth on this because I've done multiple videos that I'll link up in the description on what we believe is the alt agency model, is having multiple income streams. And the income streams fall through a couple different categories. You will have clients, you will have members, and you will have customers. And if you do this and you have at least one offer in each of these categories over time, not all at once, you will actually have a diversified income stream for your agency using stuff that you already have. So this isn't all different types of services to serve everybody, but you have an assortment of delivery options, leveraging intellectual property and skill sets and experience that you have to serve your ideal client. Thing number two is to have a minimum level of engagement for your clients and your members. So I mentioned the three different tiers. I see tons of service providers and agencies basically deliver their best level of service at variety of price points, mainly based off of the client's budget. At some point, you need to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, in order to do this type of transformation, this outcome, this result, the minimum level of engagement for us to do our work and be successful is this, and hold to that line. If you want to serve people below that line, you should be doing so via one of the other income streams like membership or possibly even customers. And that will again come later. So what do I think is a fair minimum level of engagement? I believe that it obviously depends on what it is you're offering. So there's probably no finite answer. But if you're from a membership perspective, I think the sweet spot is somewhere between $7,500 and $15K for some sort of hybrid program. And then if you're doing like true done for you services, I really think the minimum level of engagement should be, north of $20,000 per client. So you might have a different number. That's totally fine. Nonetheless, the key takeaway is you should have a line where you say, hey, this is the floor. This is where we start. And this is where you start weeding out a lot of the clients that are bleeding you dry by monopolizing a lot of your time and requests and revisions that were probably unqualified to begin with. So thing number one is multiple income streams. Thing number two is minimum level of engagement. Number three is to focus on your revenue per employee. A lot of people don't talk about this, but when you look across the training, the consulting, the agency landscape, I see a lot of people flex how many people they have on staff as if that were like the measurement stick, when reality is you should actually be focused on what the revenue per employee is. And I think a healthy range for an alt agency, a hybrid agency, is somewhere between $250,000 and $400,000 per employee. The use of tech and hybrid leverage delivery models makes this very doable in today's world. I'll link to a video in the description where I talk a lot more about this model. And this does include freelancers. So when I say per employee, if you have a full-time equivalent, what a full-time equivalent is, say you have 3 different contractors that you use that together their hours would equal the hours of one employee, then I would count those 3 as one full-time equivalent. So the revenue per full-time equivalent is a target that you should aim for. Now, if you're not there right now, that's totally fine. I think 150,000 is the real floor if you want to truly maintain a healthy margin with your clients after delivery. Guess what? You might actually have to cut staff that aren't efficient right now in order to get you back on track if you're way outside of that number. So number 4 is high gross margins, or as my friend Marcel says, high delivery margin. Now, if you haven't checked out my interview with Marcel, I'll link it up in the descriptions below. He really works with agencies on profitability, and a key factor in how profitable you are, your net profit at the end of the month, has to do with how good are your margins on delivery. So the gross margin formula and calculation, as pulled from the good old internet, is gross margin equals your net sales minus your cost of goods sold, where net sales obviously is equivalent to revenue or the total amount of money generated from sales for that period. And then cost of goods sold, where the direct cost associated with producing the goods and or the labor. So if you have a web design agency, that person is a cost of goods sold. Or you send a welcome kit to every new client, that's going to be a cost of goods sold. So you want to, in order to understand your gross margin, is understand what it costs to deliver the promise, the outcome for each and every client, and take that into account. You'll see varying feedback on what healthy gross margins look like in different variety of businesses. I'd say you don't want to go really below a 70% gross margin and or 70% on your delivery margin if you want to, at the end of the day, be inside of that 30-40% net profit. So number 5 is your burn, your overhead is covered by the 15th of the month. I've learned this from a guy by the name Aaron Stokes. He runs the largest training company for auto repair shops. He owns multiple auto repair shops. And one of the things he says that a lot of people run into, and we've been guilty of this in the past, is you are not outrunning your expenses. So like you want your revenue to cover all of your major expenses by the 15th of the month, if ideally. And you might have to shift a few things around to make that happen. But what that does is it gives you the whole second half of the month to sell in a way where you're not feeling needy or you're not pushing for sales and maybe bringing on the wrong clients. And so if you can adjust timing of billing and work on a couple different income streams and things like that, being able to cover all of your fixed overhead by the middle of every single month is going to give you a lot of freedom and peace of mind from an operations perspective to continue to grow and sustain a healthy business. If you're waiting till the last day of every month to just cover all of your expenses, that's going to get really, really exhausting. So if you want a healthy, sustainable business, knowing that your income and revenue is covering all of those expenses early in the month, you're going to be in good shape. The 6th sign of a healthy, sustainable business is you, the owner, are not responsible for delivery and or solely responsible for sales. It obviously takes time to work to both of these things and requires other people inside your organization, but the peace of mind and the health and value of your business is going to increase when you're not the key bottleneck in those areas of the business, and obviously other areas too. But like if you're not tied to the fulfillment as the only person, and you're also not the only person tied to sales, you're going to be in a position where you have freedom to focus on the growth while other key areas of the business are being taken care of. And number 7, the last sign of a healthy and sustainable agency and or consulting firm this year and beyond is to have a recurring revenue stream. Now, I have multiple videos on why agencies shouldn't sell directly into recurring revenue. You can check those out on the channel. I'll link those up in the description as well below. But if you can keep clients longer, whether that's getting them to buy again or having a recurring revenue stream, you're going to increase the lifetime value of a client and obviously have longer retention. And both of those things cost way less than trying to get a new client every single month. In a recent video, we talked about cost of acquisition, and it's way cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one. And so if you can incorporate a recurring revenue stream inside of your business, or recurring revenue sales, meaning like they'll buy the next product or service, it's going to provide, again, a lot of health and sustainability into your business because you're not having to live or die based on acquiring a certain number of clients on the front end each and every month. So I hope you found this useful. If you think there's something I'm missing, I'd love to know. Drop it in the comments below. If you want to make sure your business has these traits, then go check out the link in the description to a free training we put together. It's about 23 minutes, and it's really the best and most simple blueprint I've seen for agencies, consultants, and expert service providers that will walk you through exactly how to start installing the key ingredients to structure to have a business that meets these 7 signs.